Hi, I'm Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter. I'm the host of the No BS Coaching Advice podcast here on Anchor.fm. If you've always wanted to start a podcast, Anchor makes it ridiculously easy to do it. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. And best of all, it's completely free and ridiculously easy to use. I know I've used two other services. One was very expensive, like $700 a month expensive, until I realized I was getting hosed, and now it costs me much less, but it still costs me. Another service that's inexpensive, but it still costs me. Again, it's 100% free. And now Anchor can match you with great sponsors too, so you can get paid to podcast. I do no BS coaching advice here, and it is a breeze. I can record on my laptop. I can record live off my phone. Again, very, very easy to use. So if you've always wanted to start a podcast and make money doing it, go to anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast. This is the No BS Coaching Advice Podcast, episode 126. I'm your host, Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter, and welcome. Weekly, I like to spend a little bit of time talking with you about some element of life, the universe, everything, really, everything. And yesterday I was sitting with a few friends at a local restaurant, just sitting and shooting the breeze, as we tend to do once a week. And one of them walked in with two questions in honor of Mother's Day. By the way, happy Mother's Day to those of you who would celebrate Mother's Day. And he walked in with two questions for us, which I thought was wonderful. The first question, who have I assigned the responsibility in the past to where I am in life today? Ooh. So many people blame individuals in their past for why they have the lives that they have today. And these people occupy an enormous amount of real estate in their lives. And, how's that blame working for you? What can you do to change that? How do you change that? Who do you need support from in order to change it? Because if you're blaming someone, trust me, that's not a good thing, right? You want to be moving forward in your life and creating, designing, however you want to explain it. You want to have the life that you want to have. You don't want to be living in the past and using that as a convenient excuse. Seriously, figure out the life that you want. Start taking steps toward moving toward it, because otherwise, it's like shopping at a discount store when you could be shopping at the best store in the world. You're living in your past. It's a cheap seat. You could be doing so much better. Really, so much better. When I work with a lot of people, so much of what I run into are people who have been conditioned to conforming. Like when you hear the expression professionally, team player, what does that really mean? Team player is someone who works within a system to do what we tell them to do, or we threaten them. Really, we threaten them. And you learned it in school, you learned it in your family, you learn to go along with things. But one thing you start to realize professionally, if you're paying attention, is that conformity is rarely an asset. The people who are most exceptional, the ones that we admire the most, are not the ones who conform, but people who have different ideas, different viewpoints, and different thinking. Conformity isn't an asset. Really, it isn't. Where do you think differently and start bringing that to the fore? Because that's really who you are. That's really what your strengths are. That's really what your ability is. And the world needs to see that from you. Don't hide. Seriously. Hiding is one of the least virtuous things that you could possibly do. Get out there. Be great. I was listening to a podcast interview with Billy Bob Thornton, an actor who's an Academy Award winner. And he was talking about a time very early in his life where he had come to New York and eventually moved to LA, and he was trying to figure out how to make it in the world. So, like at times he would serve hors d'oeuvres at cocktail parties. And he tells a story about one time he was talking to this guy who, just asked him a couple of questions and assumed he was an actor and offered him some advice. And eventually learned that the person he was talking with was Billy Wilder, who is a theater producer, very well known, very successful. And what Wilder told him, which I think really can be helpful to all of us, is why stand in line waiting to be picked? Can you write it all? Create your own way. Create your own characters. Set yourself apart. If there's anything unique about you, bring that to the top. Write your own screenplay and a part in it for you. And don't wait around for people to pick you to play the thug or the whatever. Now, here's the key part to all of this. Most of us wait around waiting to be picked. Think of it like from the example of a field of poppies. Most of us operate at the same height as every other poppy. How can you stand out? Some people are going to try and cut you down to size. That's one of the realities of our culture. Everyone likes homogeneous behavior. Until we don't. Until we suddenly discover, hey, I like that iPhone thing. I like that iPod thing. And suddenly there's a leader. Why can't you try? Why can't you experiment knowing that the first 4 times or the first 14 times you might not succeed? But then there's that one time, and you just need one to go out there and really stand out from everyone else. There's a risk to standing out. There's a risk to doing something different. What do you think the risk is for you to try something that others don't? Oh, I might get criticized. Oh. But you're criticizing yourself. You're unhappy. Other people's unhappiness weighs on you and tries to keep you to a certain level just like them. Do great things. Try. Experiment. Know that you're going to be criticized. Your wife, husband, or partner may suddenly, your kids, oh God, your kids, ooh, everyone's going to say, don't do it. Don't try. I know in my life when I transitioned from headhunting to coaching, my wife woke up one day, I completed coach training, and I was now going to leave headhunting altogether. It was like a revelation for her. It was like these years that I spent in training and in practice, like it suddenly hit her. I was actually going to do it. So she was a little nervous, and she wanted me to continue in headhunting, and it took her a day to figure out, no, it's time for me to move on to something else, just as I had planned. You've got your version of a risk. You've got your version of what your fear is telling you could happen to you. But just remember, the way you have it set up is a lose-lose proposition. You might fail doing what you're doing, and you might feel like a failure if you keep doing what you're doing. But if you try, number one is you might just actually succeed. And there's a million other options between those two poles that you haven't even considered yet. But I'm telling you, folks, you've got to get out there and start doing different things, because a lifetime is not a long time. I'm telling you, life catches up and suddenly it's over. It is not a long time. And when you look back at it, do you want to be proud of it? Do you want to be happy with it? Do you want to feel as though you made something of it? So that's today's show. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, subscribe in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, wherever you listen to the show. Just subscribe so you get downloads whenever I release a new episode. Each show is going to be bite-sized morsels of advice just like today's. I hope you enjoyed it, and I do hope you subscribe. And if you do choose to subscribe, I hope you decide to support the show. There's a link that will take you to anchor.fm where you can make a pledge in support of the show. I'd greatly appreciate it. If you're interested in my coaching you, connect with me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/IN/the Big Game Hunter. Mention that you listen to the show. I just happen to like knowing I'm helping some folks. And once we're connected, message me about your interest in coaching. We'll set up a free call. We'll get acquainted, see if it makes sense. I'll be back soon with more. And in the meantime, I hope you have a great day. Take care. Time for